to when our work on this book began in earnest. Our first order of business was to sit down and brainstorm what would go into it: the places, people, food, sites, markets, hotels, and more that had stuck with him, without aid of notes or videos, throughout nearly 20 years of traveling the world in the service of making television. One spring afternoon in 2018, I sat across from Tony at his dining table in the Manhattan high-rise apartment he had lovingly styled into a reasonable facsimile of a suite at his favorite Los Angeles hotel, the Chateau Marmont. He'd picked up smoking again, a number of years after quitting. He'd been talking earnestly about a plan to stop, but in the meantime, in response to complaints from his neighbors, he'd recently installed an industrial-strength smoke eater machine of the kind and caliber normally seen only in casinos and bars. I'd chosen my seat under the ceiling-mounted contraption rather poorly, while Tony chain-smoked and free-associated for over an hour, recalling best-loved dishes and hotels and people. The machine's powerful vacuum sucked the smoke across my face and into its maw. I left the apartment smelling like a late 1990s bar crawl through hell, but in possession of an hour-long audio recording in which we'd laid out a blueprint for the book, a window into what had shaped his understanding and appreciation for some of the world's most interesting places as he tirelessly explored and documented them. After this conversation, Tony went back out to keep exploring the world for his television show Parts Unknown: Kenya, Texas, Manhattan's Lower East Side, Indonesia, while I started to track down old episodes, began to painstakingly transcribe the relevant bits, and wrote lists of questions. My plan was to get a few chapter outlines completed and hand them to Tony to make sure we were on the same page, and to get him started on filling in the juice, the essential toniness. Only I never got a chance. If I'd known that that single meeting would be the only one we'd have about the book, I would have pushed him for more specifics in those places where he'd said, "Let's come back to it," or "See what you can pull up." It is a hard and lonely thing to co-author a book about the wonders of world travel when your writing partner, that very traveler, is no longer traveling that world. And, to be honest, in the difficult days and weeks after his death, I once again found myself asking, does the world need this book? Of great comfort in the immediate aftermath of Tony's departure, and even now, more than 2 years later, is the steady chorus of admiration for what he accomplished while he was here, and the expressions of deep sorrow over the loss of him from many corners of the world. The sheer magnitude of his cultural impact became clear to me only after he died. Maybe the world could use another travel guide, full of Tony's acid wit and thoughtful observations, and a few sly revelations of the mysterious contours of his battered heart, stitched together from all the brilliant and hilarious things he'd said and written about the world as he saw it. We had initially planned for Tony to write a number of essays about specific topics that moved him: his abiding love of France, the countries in which he was no longer welcome by decree of one irritated government or another, the eccentricities of various European palates, a specific onsen outside Kyoto that was so hushed, luxurious, and polished that it remained his favorite even after many return trips to Japan. He was gone before having the chance to write those essays, so I have recruited a number of Tony's friends, family members, and colleagues to contribute their own collected thoughts and memories about places they experienced with Tony. You'll find recollections of visits to France, Uruguay, and the New Jersey shore from Tony's brother Christopher Bourdain, a story from Tony's producer and director Nari of coming to terms with her Korean roots while shooting in Seoul, the producer and musician Steve Albini on the places he wishes he could share a meal with Tony in Chicago, and more. You'll notice that, while this book does include basic information on topics like transportation and hotels, this is far from a comprehensive guide to any one location. Prices, exchange rates, travel routes, geopolitical stability, and the business of making and selling food.